So, public service announcements from me to you. So, I have to say this. It is very, very important to buttress on this particular vital information that I have to state here today. And that is why we are learning the French language in this classroom. It is very, very important. Some things are called the good to know. They are good to know. They might not necessarily be so needful at the moment, but it is very important for you to know it. And one of such vital information is that we have exceptions. In every rule, we have exceptions. I have to say this quite early before we get into verbs in French language. We have exceptions. Now, in French language, we have three groups of verbs. The first group of verbs are ER verbs. That is verbs with ER endings, such as the verb manger, the verb to eat, the verb parler, just like I'm talking, the verb to speak. And then the second group of verbs are IR verbs. These are verbs with IR endings. An example is the verb finir, FINIR, that's the verb to finish. And then the third group of verbs are what I call all irregularities, all irregular verbs. Now, we were told that the first group of verbs, that is ER verbs, and the second group of verbs, IR verbs, have the same pattern of conjugation. Now, what is conjugation in French language? Well, conjugation, you see, we were told that when you come across any sentence or word that you do not know or you've never come across before and you're so confused, ask a better alternative to approach or get the explanation or understanding of such word or sentence. What you have to do is try to have a glimpse of a contextual meaning of such words. So where am I driving at now? Conjugation. Verbs in French language are in particular state. I call it raw forms of verbs. That is how I put it. I say verbs are naturally in their raw forms. In their raw forms means that grammatically they cannot be used in sentences in that form until they are transformed or converted into the grammatically accepted forms. Whoa, calm down, calm down, not to worry, okay? I'll go over that again. So I said conjugation. If I don't have to look up for the meaning of conjugation in my Safari or any other web browser, go and look for the meaning of conjugation in my dictionary. All I have to do is think of the contextual meaning of such word or sentence. But I am telling you that my better alternative to understanding conjugations in French language is that, first of all, what is conjugation? For me, I know that conjugation is, simply put, I want to explain it in such a way that you will be able to understand it before I can even tell you their meanings from a dictionary or from a web browser. Now, conjugations. The verb manger, manger, that's the verb to eat. These ER verbs, IR verbs, finir, FINIR, they are in their raw forms or state. Grammatically, they cannot be used in a sentence. It needs to be conjugated. Oh, don't use a word to explain it. Okay, I know, sorry. It needs to be changed or converted to an acceptable grammatical structure or format. That is where conjugation comes into play. Now, do not worry, when we get to verbs, you are going to get a better explanation of this concept. Now, we're told that IR verbs, ER verbs, first group of verbs, second group of verbs have the same pattern of conjugation, but there are few exceptions. And then the third group of verbs, that's the irregular verbs. These are verbs that do not have same pattern of conjugation. And one thing, we have exceptions. That is what I'm trying to iterate. I have to buttress on this point. In every rule, we have exceptions. So when you hear of even the rules of Concord in English language, singular subject, singular verb, plural verbs, plural subject, well, we have exceptions. So for every rule, you should think or try to know what exceptions applies to that rule. So when I state a particular rule while going through this subject, you have to understand that it is non, it is not a known or established rule. There have to be exception. It's just to know what exceptions are applicable to that. So that is the end of my public service announcement.